Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Revathi Greenwood, and I'm the Director of Research and Analysis for CBRE in the DC Baltimore area. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to present at this conference today. I've been asked to speak on two widely separate topics. One is self-driving cars and its implications for real estate, and the other is co-working. And since they're two separate presentations, I've decided to treat them as such. So I'll first do one presentation followed by questions on that topic, and then move on to the second presentation with questions on that topic. And unsurprisingly, I wanted to start with self-driving cars because it's a subject close to my heart. I, for one, can't wait for self-driving cars to hit the road because I've managed to fail 5 driving tests across 3 continents. So with that, let's start with self-driving cars. Is that funny?
Yes.
So let's look at where we are right now before we look into the future. A lot of companies are getting onto the self-driving car bandwagon. So on the left side over here, you see all the big names: Google, Microsoft, and you even interestingly see companies like Uber and Lyft who are getting into self-driving technology because their ultimate ambition is to move from taxi companies to car fleet companies and taxi fleet companies. And on the other side, I've put in the change transportation models that are now available for car ownership. So you've got not only taxi services, you've got vehicle subscription platforms, shuttle services which take you from a transit point that you exit from to your office and home, or vice versa. And GM and Volkswagen, typo there, are again exploring mobility on demand. So instead of selling cars, again, they're also looking at the option to lease cars. So there's a lot of change happening in the automotive sector. The other thing that is also going to greatly affect what happens to self-driving cars is the regulatory landscape. This is going to be a highly regulated sector. In the federal space, there's a proposal to spend $4 billion over the next 10 years. It's not been approved or appropriated, but those are the kind of numbers you're talking about. But actually, because roads and self-driving cars are going to be a state topic, the state's legislation is even more important. As of 2016, 16 states have passed regulation in some form or the other regarding self-driving cars. And if you relate this back to your property portfolio, Washington, D.C. and California, where you have properties, have passed some legislation on this. Pennsylvania legislation is in Senate at the moment. Virginia has recently announced a sort of R&D partnership, which means they're looking at the feasibility of self-driving cars. And in Texas and New Jersey, where you have some properties, there's simply no legislation on this at all. And even the legislation that we have is very initial and just looking at the feasibility of stuff. But for example, in Washington, D.C., they say self-driving cars still need to have a driver inside the car at all times, which is interesting. But now let's look at, where are self-driving cars going to go in the future? So I'm sure most of you would have seen this meme when it kind of made its appearance a couple of years ago, but let's take a quick poll of this. How many people see a blue and black dress?
I do.
Does there anyone who see a white and gold dress?
There is no white and gold there.
Is there anybody who sees any other combinations of colors? Is there anybody who doesn't see a dress at all? So thank you. So the point with this is just, the point I want to make with this is the colors that you see on the dress totally depends on the way your brain is wired and also your perspective. And when you're looking at something as futuristic as self-driving cars, where you're coming from in your perspective also matters. So what I'm presenting is really my perspective, and I'm quite interested in hearing your thoughts on this as well when we go into the next part of the presentation. So when you're talking about self-driving cars, timing is everything. And there are 2 things that are going to really affect the way how self-driving cars influence the rest of the economy. One is how fast the technology is going to evolve, and 2, how widely it is adopted. So we've divided it into phases. The current phase where we are in right now, and probably going to go on until 2020 or so, is a technology development phase. So here, really, I don't see anything much to happen because still safety is of primary concern. Moving forward, when we get to sort of the next 5 years, 2020 to 2025, you get the partial driver substitution phase. This is where the car can kind of drive itself, but you still need a driver sitting in the car. But what this means is that the driver's time is freed up to do other things apart from just texting and listening to some